Welcome back. Thanks again for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm 12 Kyle. Um, August 9th, 1999. That day, my life changed forever. Uh, I thought that I knew how it was going to go, but it was totally different from what I thought it was going to be. That day, I became a father for the first time. And while it was exciting, it was scary too at the same time. And the reason being is because, again, being a father for the first time, everything changed. When I say everything, I literally mean everything changed. The world changed, how I viewed the world, what I wanted for myself and what I wanted for this child changed. And, the day that I became a father was honestly the best day of my life. And it's kind of weird when I think about it because even growing up as a child, I had visions of being a father. Didn't think that I'd be a father of four, but I did have visions of being a father. Didn't have visions of being married, but I guess I knew I'd be married at some point. But I did have visions of being a father when I was a young kid growing up, and I always knew I'd have a son, and I figured I'd have one child. Well, honestly, I don't even know if I've ever put a number on it. I just knew that I'd be a father of a son. And fortunately for me, that day came again, August 9th, 1999. Again, the happiest day of my life. And subsequently, that day taught me a lot. And I've been learning ever since. And what's interesting is that most of you listening or watching, you've probably known me as far back as, knowing me since I've been a father, but quite a few of you knew me before I became a father. And I'd like to think that I'm probably the same person, but I'm not. And it's funny because I remember one time one of my homeboys called me, and he called me, this is years ago, he called me on the house phone. And he was like, man, I heard your kid in the background. Like, I remember, man, when we were 15 and we used to run up and down the street, and now you got a kid, like that. So it was something that we kind of laughed and joked about. But honestly, fatherhood has been everything to me. Again, August 9th, 1999. Then August 8th, 2002. And then December 10th, 2006. And then September 28th, 2011. Each of those days are very special. Again, the first was Dion, our oldest son, who up until probably up until the day he was born, his name wasn't going to be Dion. His name was going to be Kyle Jr. And it wasn't until we got in the delivery room, I'm like, no, we can't name him that. And so the doctor said, well, what do you want to name him? And I looked at him and I said, Dion. And that was interesting for a lot of people, especially those who are close to me, because they know that that's my middle name. And then he has my first name as his middle name. So he's Dion Kyle. But yeah, that day, everything changed. And then, like I said, subsequently, August 8th, almost 3 years to the day, we had Cameron. And then December 10th, which is the day after my birthday, in 2006, we had Brandon. And then September 28th, 2011, we had our only daughter, Skylar. And her name is spelled Skyler. So it's like Kyle with a S and an R. So it's not spelled Skylar. It's Skyler. And if you misspell it, she'll tell you about yourself. But each time becoming a father, each time that we had a child, it got even to be even more special. Um, these years have really flown by, as you can do the math. These kids are getting up there in age. Um, but fatherhood has been everything for me. So at the time of this recording, this podcast will be released on Father's Day. So let me I should have started by saying happy Father's Day to all of the fathers, both past and present. Um, Special shout out to my dad, who's still here with us, and he's still kicking it. He's still, we talk every other day. If we don't talk, we text, but we talk pretty much every day. And I think whatever I became, or whatever would make me become the father that I've become, has been because of two men, both my paternal and fraternal grandfathers. My mom's dad, his name's Eddie. My dad's dad, Weston. Two men that honestly, if I'm gonna keep it a bean, I didn't know. My grandfather Eddie passed away when I was 1, so he saw me and all that. But I mean, and I'm pretty sure I saw him, but I don't remember back when I was 1. Grandpa Wes, I don't know that he ever saw me. I do remember that I had a conversation with him, and or two conversations with him over the phone. But these men are pivotal because they didn't have, particularly. Well, I tell you, I don't want to say that. They both had issues with alcohol, and subsequently their families weren't the way that they probably should have been. They both were alcoholics. And my paternal grandfather in particular, he had a very bad relationship with my dad. And subsequently, that's the reason why we only talked twice. And again, I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know if he ever saw me. But he and my dad weren't on, good terms or whatever. My grandparents split when I think my dad was like in his 15 or 16. And you think about it, that's something that didn't really happen back in the day. People splitting up, but their relationship was strained, and subsequently, I didn't know my grandfather like that. And it was weird because I remember when I was in college when Grandpa West passed away, and it's funny. I remember my dad telling me, like, he was like, yeah, your grandfather passed today, and I was like, oh, damn. And it was kind of like somebody saying, man, you remember Junebug? Junebug got shot. You're like, oh, damn, Junebug got shot. Hey, so what's up with that Laker game? Like, it was like that. It was like he said, Grandpa had passed on, and then like the next thing out of his mouth was like, yo, let's go get something to eat. Like, bro, you just told me your dad just died. Like, and he lived in LA, California somewhere. But anyway, because he didn't have a relationship with my father, subsequently, my father made it his point to be a great father to me and my younger brother, Damon. And he's been a great father. He's been a great mentor, been a great friend, even though my parents divorced when I was 13. And we still maintained a relationship, still stayed intact. But I've always had him in my life. And I've always had, my uncles, coaches, role models, men who have been there as far as examples. But my dad more specifically, to show me how to be a father just by leading by example. But again, fatherhood is something that, and I'm sure my boys, Zell, Derek, Rudy, Ryan, Wood, podcasters like Baylor, King Germ, D Murph. I don't want to start listing people because I'll forget somebody, but everybody can attest to this. Like, there's no blueprint for being a father. It's one of those things where it's like you're in the game looks a whole lot different when you're in the stands as opposed to being on the field. I'm solely responsible for them. I make it my business to make sure that they're well taken care of. and that I'm there and I'm present. Uh, but more importantly, I think just, one of the things that my dad always said, and I've said it before in this podcast, and I'll say it again. He said that, the thing that he was told right before I was born, he said, there's three things that you have to give your child: love, discipline, and an example to follow. And he's done all of that for me and my brother and my sister. And I've done my best to do the same for my four. Um, and it's funny because now, especially as the boys have gotten older, even my daughter, she's 10 at the time of this recording. We have a different relationship. We're getting, my dad used to always tell us, me and my brother, when we were growing up, he said, the older you get, the more I'm going to be more like a friend than a father. And he wasn't lying. We're very, very close. Me, him, and my brother, very close. And we talk like friends. Of course, I go to him as dad, and ask him for advice and stuff like that. Sometimes it's unsolicited, but he'll give me his 2 cents. But same for my kids now, because Dion's graduated from college, he's in grad school, and Cameron's still in college, and Brandon's in high school, and Skylar's headed in middle school. But the thing is that my kids, they're a part of me. I call them my four chambers. The heart has four chambers, and they're the four chambers of my heart. And I knew what life was like prior to becoming a parent. But to be a parent now, I can't imagine the world. I know how the world has changed for me in becoming a father. There are great benefits to being a father. I'd be here all day if I told you, some of the things that I really, really enjoy about being a father. But if I'm being honest with you guys, and it sounds cliche, but every day is like Father's Day, honestly, because these kids give you so much and they pour into you. And I love the conversation that I have with them, and I love, our interactions. I love watching them grow. And I feel very fortunate to, still have my father in my life, still have, people around them, and then also them seeing me grow as a father. It doesn't seem like it's been 20 plus years, but it has been, and it's been a crazy ride, and I look forward to the next 100 years. But they are my legacy, more than a podcast, more than any money that I'll ever earn, more than any car I'll buy or any house I'll have. They're my legacy, and they are who are important to me. And I tell them all the time, everything that I do is for them. I wouldn't have this house. I wouldn't have, any of the material possessions that I worked hard to get, or that we as a family, my wife and I, worked hard to get. I wouldn't have it for them. I mean, if I were just single and if it was just me, I might be living, in a cardboard box somewhere, just chilling, Nah. But seriously, everything that I do is for them. My sole focus is to make sure that they are, again, well taken care of, but that they grow to be productive citizens and great people, and the people that, we would want them to be. But fatherhood is everything to me. It is truly a joy to be their dads. I love going to Skylar school to pick her up, and it's like, oh, that's Skylar's dad. That's Skylar's dad. Oh, that's Brandon's dad. Oh, and Brandon and I look, all my kids look like me, but Brandon really, really, really looks like me. So, and if you see a picture of him, you see the cover art, he looks just like me. But people, oh man, that's your twin right there. So I like that. I like those kind of interactions. But what's even more interesting is, as time goes on, is that, you talk to them and you're around them, and then you start to hear them and they sound similar to you, or they would say some of the things you say. Now, one of the funny, and at some point, I'm going to have them on the podcast, but one of the funniest things is to hear them do impressions of me, which I find funny, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't do that. Like they got this thing now. They say that I say the word slack. Like, oh man, you can't do that. That's slack. That's slack. And I'm like, I do use the word slack, but I don't say it the way that they say that I say it, but it's actually quite comical. So I look forward to bringing them on the podcast so that they can do that. We need to do that real soon too. But fatherhood is everything. Again, it's everything to me. I think if you're like me and you're fortunate enough to still have your father in your life on this earth, if you will, reach out to him, love on him, take care of him, because I have friends whose fathers aren't here. I have friends who don't even know who their fathers are, and that's unfortunate. And I would say to anyone listening, if you are a father and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing as a father to your child or children, do better. We have to hold each other accountable because particularly in our community, we're the straw that stirs the drink. And that's no knock on the women because Black women have held us down for forever. But we have to make sure that we're on top of our game as far as being there for our children, even if we're not together, even if it's no longer marriage, even if, you have to partner up. And sometimes that can be difficult. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that's easy because I know it's not. Relationships are hard. Marriages are hard. They're not supposed to be easy. But at the same time, you have to kind of work towards a common goal. And the common goal should always be the children. I always get a bit miffed when I see these stories about these guys who have 20, 25 kids. I don't know how you do it, even if you can afford to do it. Recently, Nick Cannon's been in the news about, I think he's on his 10th and 11th child. I don't know. I don't even care, to be honest. And I don't know Nick Cannon personally. And obviously, on the surface, it looks like Nick Cannon probably makes he makes way more money than me. So he more than likely can afford his 10 or 11 kids. But at the same time, it's more than just money. There was a point in time in my life where I felt like, okay, yeah, if I make this amount of money, I'll be set, and the kids will be set and everybody, we don't have to worry about anything. And I think as a man, if you go far along in life, you'll understand that that's probably not the case. Yeah, you can have the money and the material possessions, but you need to be there for the kids and you need to be, a guiding light in their life. And I think that's what's important to them. And that's subsequently what should be important to you as well. But fatherhood is everything. So I just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about fatherhood. If you know me, if you listen to this podcast, if you know me personally, you know that, fatherhood is everything. There's nothing that I won't do for my kids. And I'm going to keep being a father, no matter how old they get, no matter where they go in life, at some point, I'm assuming that they all will settle down and get married and, move out of the house. And we joke about getting the kids out of college and getting them out the house. But ultimately, you want to do it. But once you get in that position, it's a totally different ballgame. It's like, wow, kids are out the house. What do we do? That type of thing. So, but no, I'm going to always be a father. I'm going to always be a father. And I try my best to be the best father that I can be each and every day. And I understand that there are only 4 people that can tell you what kind of who I am as a father. Not even my wife, she could tell you, but I'm not her father, obviously. But, I wanted to also reiterate on this podcast that I want to thank, my grandfathers who weren't necessarily there, but their influence on their children, meaning my mom and my dad, showed them that they wanted to be a different type of parent. And subsequently that fell down and trickled down to me. And subsequently that's who I've become as a father. So, if my grandfathers were better fathers, would I be the father that I am? Who knows? I'd like to think that I would be, but, sometimes circumstances make things to be the way that they are instead of the way that you want them to be. But at some point, long time from now, once they, settle down and get married and have some time on their own, there'll be a time I'm certain where, one day 12 Kyle will be 12 Kyle and the pops, the grandpops. And I would want my legacy for those grandkids or great grandkids or whatever happens down the road, for them to look back at me and say, hey, that dude, he set it off for all of us. And in a roundabout way, I can say that my grandfathers did that for me. But again, happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. Again, if your father is still with us, love on him, hug on him, let him get the big piece of chicken today. And I know, people always talk about the differences between Mother's Day and Father's Day. I don't get into all of that. Just enjoy the time and enjoy them, because, truly there's no gift better than being a father. And I say that from experience, because I have 4 of the greatest kids that a man could ever ask for. That's going to do it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out this bonus edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I'm your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5G.